So I'll give folks a couple of minutes to join. I do want to recognize that today is an important holiday, so I'm very grateful for you guys making the time today and getting this time to kind of hopefully answer any questions that you have about this opportunity, to provide some support, some resources, and just make sure everyone has a full understanding of the opportunity and how to access it and where to get support if that's needed. Um, for today, it'll be if you attended the last application assistance webinar, same content, same structure, but definitely an opportunity to ask questions if there are some that haven't been answered on the FAQ, or ones that have just come up for you in the meantime. So I'll try to do a good kind of general overview of the community reinvestment plan, the opportunity as a whole, specific to this opportunity, and then having some time to go through some of the more documents specific to this. So, the application and the scoring guide, as well as the FAQ, and just make sure everyone kind of gets everything addressed that they need today. I'm sure there will be questions. Hopefully there are. If you do have a question, and of course, we'll get some time for people to come off mute as well and ask them, because that can be a little more engaging, easier than typing. But if you do have a question, even if you ask it off mute, if you can also put it either in the chat or in the Q&A, that is extremely helpful, because we will then take those as well as the answers, and then put those onto the RFP page and the FAQ document. It also allows us to make sure we track everything, just in case we don't have an answer in real time today, then we can get that answer and make sure it's posted for everyone. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome. My name is Ariana Thornton West. I'm the Industry Engagement Manager with the WDC, Workforce Development Council of Seattle, King County. It's a long one, I know. Excited to be here with you all today, talk more about this Workforce Accelerator grant opportunity that we have, answer questions for you folks. And it may take us a whole hour. If not, that's totally okay. We, kind of have that flexibility to take the time to answer any questions that come up, or end early and give y'all some time back in your day as well. And it is being recorded, so this will get posted to the grant or RFP page, as well as the questions and answers to those questions that come up during this time to our FAQ, or frequently asked questions section and document on that page. So we'll go ahead and hop in. This is kind of what it covers. So I'll do a little bit of background about the Community Reinvestment Project if folks are unfamiliar. And just to give a bit of context, there was a lot of funding and amazing opportunities that came out with the Community Reinvestment Project as a whole. So I like to speak to that just a little bit to help kind of sort out where there, might be other resources and opportunities that could be helpful to you as an individual or with your business. And then, of course, provide some context around our specific funding, why ours is more workforce centered and focused. And then we'll do an overview of the RFP, what's in the application, the scope, timeline, all that good stuff, as well as the scoring or the scorecard. And then, of course, some guidance on how to seek support, and then answer any questions that we can here today as well. For housekeeping, if you can, if there's background noise, remain muted. We'll have time to come off mute and ask questions. I definitely, especially with a smaller group today, I want this to be a comfortable space to ask questions, but I will, I'll build in some time for us to do that. But if something doesn't get addressed, or if I miss a question, feel free to pop off mute and ask. I want this to be a comfortable experience. And then, yes, any questions that you have, even if you ask them off mute, if you can put them in the chat or the Q&A, very helpful, because that makes sure we don't lose track of anything as we're getting that transferred over onto the FAQ. And again, this will be recorded, so it'll get posted for reference as well. And the one that we did, oh gosh, I believe that was on the 8th. I'm not sure now, but the one that we did early in the month has also been posted to the RFP page, and then all the questions that were asked during that time have been added to the FAQ section and document as well. This is where you'll find the opportunity. I'm guessing most of you have because you were able to get here today. But from the our WDC page, the Workforce Development Council of Seattle-King County, there is a tab up at the top called Investments, and there will be another drop down that says Funding Opportunities. If you click on that, you will see the opportunity that we're talking about today, the Small Business Workforce Accelerator grant right here. Since I took this screenshot, there actually is one more other funding opportunity that you'll see first in that list. And that is actually for a consultant for a job quality initiative that we're working on through a DOL grant. And that also for folks who do any type of kind of like consulting, outreach, community work, that may be of interest to you as well to kind of check out and see if that is another opportunity that you would like to apply for. But you'll find that on our funding opportunities page as well. Taking a quick step back just for the larger context. So the Community Reinvestment Project is a community design plan that was really meant to uplift communities that were disproportionately harmed by the historical design and enforcement of the war on drugs. And so there's a lot of great information, and you can read the full plan at Commerce's website. And I have that URL there, but if you go to the Commerce page and type in Community Reinvestment Project, it will pop up for you. The Community Reinvestment Project resulted in, the Community Reinvestment Account, which was a set aside of about $200 million that went out across the state. It was the legislator directed it to be invested in kind of 4 main program areas, which were economic development, civil and criminal legal assistance, community-based violence intervention and prevention, and reentry services. So out of this $200 million that went across the state, I think it resulted in a total of about 17 different programs within these apologies, within these 4 kind of main program areas. The funding that we are working with, the Workforce Development Council of Seattle-King County, we are in this economic development kind of program area. And within that, you'll see like an additional kind of breakdown of some key areas like subsidized lending, financial assistance, outreach of support, and then workforce development. And that's that's where our work is focused, and that's where our particular funding of the Community Reinvestment Project funds are focused. And this is really dedicated to boosting job creation, sustaining employment for us specific to King County, and really supporting businesses in the priority populations. So Black, tribal, urban, Indian, and Latine, with things like training, equipment, wage subsidies, and additional resources that really help businesses stabilize, grow, prosper, and be able to offer employment and work and training opportunities. So that just kind of provides the context and the funneling down, so to speak. And I mentioned this as well. Oops, and I'll go back one. Oh my, I've gone too far. Apologies. And I mentioned this as well because on Commerce's site, in this economic development space, there are other opportunities for subsidized lending, other types of financial assistance, and financial coaching specific to businesses. And then, of course, the ones I'm speaking about are specific to King County for our opportunity. But each one of the workforce boards, there's 12 workforce boards. Each one was given some funding to work on workforce development specifically. So if you happen to be a business that's not located in King County, the workforce board that is designated to your area, if you're not in King County, each one is offering some sort of like workforce development and business support as well. And there are some additional resources that I can send out on some of these for the financial assistance and coaching through Commerce Community Reinvestment Project programs. There is a list of, who's providing that in King County and what they're offering, the subsidized lending, and there's like some blended capital enhancement programs. I have not seen that list on the site, but there was a press release that went out that listed some of the organizations working under that, and I'm happy to share that as well as any other additional information we get in terms of supports, timelines, eligibility, and things like that. But just wanted to give you some more of the full scope to see kind of what else is out there, as well as why ours is, more specifically tied to these workforce development supports in King County. Um, and this is just kind of a reiteration of our program is really meant to support these small businesses in priority populations, to support in kind of the larger, some of the larger workforce system, and then some of the existing workforce supports that are already in play. So this is what we're here for today, right? The Small Business Workforce Accelerator Grant. So summary of this opportunity is to really, take some of this funding and put them towards grants that can be used for one of three project areas, one of three projects. So that would be a paid internship, employee development or training, or new hire wages. And the overarching goal really is to ensure that, again, these historically marginalized communities can gain equitable access to resources to support them in their workforce development efforts. And just for a timeline of kind of where we're at and where we're headed, and dates to be mindful of. So this was released on the 20th. We had our first one of these, this virtual bidders conference or application assistance webinars, on the 8th. Today is the 20th, where we're having our second one. Last day to submit questions will be the 22nd. And that's just to give us time to make sure we receive those questions and are able to update, that RFP website page, as well as the FAQ document. And then applications will open on January 27th at 12 p.m. And we'll get into this a little bit, but this time is structured a little bit different. So we opened the application in terms of it was open to view, open to fill out and save. You could see the scoring criteria and the scorecard that will be used. So you can actually go in, pre-fill out your application. That way, if you needed to get support with either, filling it out in general, technical assistance, language assistance, you could do that, save it. And then on January 27th at noon, you will be able to go back into that saved application that you have, or if you haven't started it, you can go into that application, and then that is when the submit button will then appear. So at noon, those applications, either saved or just getting started, will be able to be submitted starting at noon on the 27th. And then we're anticipating award notifications to be for folks to be notified of award by March 3rd, with all applicants being notified by March 7th. And that's just to give us some time too to make sure that those that are recommended for award, they're still interested, still eligible, able to get a hold of them, and then letting all folks know by that March 7th date. Digging in a little bit deeper to the three project areas. I mean, and I'm recognizing some of the names here, so it's good to see, some names, some folks I've had the opportunity and privilege of speaking with. Our last grant that we did last summer, it was tied to workforce development, but more open. You'll notice with this one, it's a little bit more clearly bucketed into these kind of, workforce supports. So a paid internship. So that is kind of providing, an intern or work experience, an internship experience for someone at your business. So you're providing, meaningful work experience for them. You're getting the benefit of having that intern and that paid internship experience. And those are shorter duration, of course, and it can be part-time, full-time, depending on the structuring of it, but no more than 40 hours per week. And for each one of these projects, you can request up to $6,500. And it's for one project. So you can select the project that you'd like, request up to that $6,500. There's no minimum that you need to request, but since these are, a smaller grant award, there's nothing wrong with requesting that full amount, especially if it's something that you can, leverage and really take advantage of for one of these projects. Um, in addition to paid internship, there's the employee development and training. So this is really focused on your existing employees. So something like a short-term certification or other employee development that reduce the cost of training um, for you to train your employees really supports like their skilling, your ability to retain your workforce, and provides those upskill or advancement opportunities. So maybe you're scaling them into another position that they have that they might be able to have, or um, uh, putting them in a position to be able to take on more responsibility or another role with your organization. And then that last bucket is new hire wages. So wage subsidy is up to $6,500 to put towards that new hire, and they can be part-time or full-time. But then the expectation is, or the agreement is to retain that employee after the wage subsidy period. So it's really a nice way to get yourself kind of jump started, especially during that first couple of months where there's usually a lot of training and learning and skilling happening as your new hire is getting onboarded. And this question, it is in the FAQ, but it came up before. These projects, if you are awarded, they are to take place after you are awarded. So like if you've just hired someone this week or just paid for training this week, unfortunately, those ones won't count towards what can be used. They should be used for interns, new employees, or training that happens after you have been, if you're awarded after you have been awarded and signed your contract to receive those funds, basically. For eligibility requirements, this is for businesses located in and licensed in King County. For small businesses, so that's fewer than 50 employees. And then funds are similar to the last time, and just kind of everything under this funding, since it is the intention of it, funds are prioritized for those who self-attest as being Black, Latine, or urban Indian and tribal business owners. And I've linked to kind of where that comes from in the Community Reinvestment Project plan, as well as the state policy that goes along with this program. Again, licensed and located in King County with an active business license, and then being, being registered with the IRS and having, carrying unemployment insurance and workers' comp insurance. And there are some resources for those if you're not already familiar on that FAQ document as well. And I do see a question. So could we hire a laid off employee as a new hire? Let me double check. That's a great question, Amber. Let me double check on this one. I don't think we have anything that would say no. So I'll just check with like our policy team, because there is some language in there about, if you utilize these projects, it doesn't, displace any of your current employees or prevent your current employees from being engaged in an opportunity. But this is a great question that hasn't come up yet. So I will flag this one and get an answer for you. But thank you, Amber. That's great. The application, and I'll give us some time, so we'll look at the application. So the application is online on the RFP page. The only required attachment this time is a valid business license. If you are recommended for award, then things like the workers' comp insurance, like we'll verify those like after the award. We really wanted to limit the amount of things that you had to put on the application. So the only one that will be required for the actual app is a copy of that valid business license. And I see a couple of hands up. So Mayette, yes, go for it.
I think you already answered the workman's comp. That's something that if we don't have it, we can get later.
Yes, yes. And I
Okay.
did put it in the FAQ as well. With the workers' comp, it is, I think when I looked at the site, I think it could take about a week, about 7 to 10 business days to get that account. So that's something that if you are awarded, you would just want to hop on that immediately, right? To make sure that you had it. But yes, wanted to acknowledge that like if that's not an expense you currently have, don't want to add one for folks if they end up not getting awarded. So that's just something you'd really want to be mindful of, since that would be a requirement. And that should be in the FAQ. If the answer that's provided there doesn't provide enough clarification, let me know and I'm happy to expand on that too. That's a great question. Okay, and I see another hand up for colorful communities.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify with regard to the licensing. I read up about for King County. So if you're an unincorporated King County, you have to have a specific license for certain businesses. But if you're not, and didn't have that certain business, that your state license would qualify to be licensed. I just wanted to confirm.
Yes, there are some exceptions. There is in an unincorporated King County, you're entirely right. There are certain ones that will require a certain license for the county. And then if not, then it is typically just that state license. So you'll just want to follow and I want to say I should know because I just spent a ton of time looking at it. I think a lot of that's on the Department of Revenue site, but they have kind of like that oh gosh, like business license wizard. So just for where you're located, if it is one of those things where like you're in unincorporated King County and it's slightly different, whatever that requirement is for you where you're at, that's what you'll want to have. And if you feel like you want to there are a couple of sections where you can add in some like notes and comments about it. But yeah, just whatever is required for your area, then yeah, that is what you'd want to do it. And there are some exceptions like that in unincorporated King County. So great flag on that.
Thank you. My other question is, I'm interested in the intern opportunity for the stipend. So it's either a youth or someone 18 and over who's formerly like incarcerated and doing re-entry. But my question was, I do believe if it's someone under the age of 18, is there another special requirement that you want? Mine is
There,
particularly I'm interested in 17 and older.
sure. There is typically, and I think I provided a link to it in the FAQ. There is I think it's a miner's work permit. And so you'll just kind of want to look into it's specific because there is a breakdown like by age, and I think it's like that 16 to 18 is different, and then sometimes depending on the industry or the type of work, and there is a question on there where it's like is it eligible or does the opportunity is like a minor work permit available, or is that an option? And there is a link to information about the minor work permit, so you can see based off of like the age that you're looking for and the industry that you're in, what other kind of like supports or permits or licensing you would need for that. But that's exciting, and I think that's like a wonderful kind of like group to provide opportunity to. And you'll see in the application, you don't have to have someone in mind for the opportunities, whether it's a new hire or an intern. Obviously, if it's the development and training, that's for your existing staff. But you don't have to have a candidate in mind for those other two opportunities. So if it's something like that, where you're like, I know this is the opportunity I have and I want recruitment support, and or I have like a specific group of folks I'd really love to serve through this opportunity. We have our business services team as well as some of our other community-based organizations and partners that can help with some of that recruitment and finding qualified candidates for you to interview for these opportunities too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Great questions. Mohammed.
Hello. I have a question about the Kings County's business license and the Washington State business license. Are we required, since my business is located in Seattle, Washington, King County, am I required to obtain a King County's business license before the application?
No, no, very often it's not like a King, just and the phrasing of that's always weird. It's being licensed like in King County. So like if you're City of Seattle, you're gonna have a City of Seattle business license, right? So it's just that you're
Right.
licensed have the appropriate one for where you're located in King County. But with, unless you're, in unincorporated King County or are in a business that requires like another type of licensure, typically you'll just go to like your city, and then wherever that city is, that will most likely be the license that you need. So if you're in Seattle, it's likely just the City of Seattle business license.
Okay, that makes sense. And another question I have is regarding the workers' compensation insurance. Is that something we need to obtain prior to the application, or we can obtain that once we are awarded?
You can obtain it once you are awarded. And there is some in that FAQ page that's on there. There's some additional information and links to it. When I looked, I do believe it takes about 7 to 10 days to like get set up and get your account and get set up with someone to have them support you with that. So it's just something that you'd want to be aware of, where that would be like a tight timetable. So if you are awarded, that would be like one of the, first things that you want to work on getting, so that it's not like a very long extended, period of time, basically.
Okay, that makes total sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Great questions. Okay, so there's a question. So two good questions. So yeah, for community day center, the difficult thing with this, the timing for the funding is if you are awarded, funds and whatever you are doing under those funds need to be completed by, like, all final reporting and everything needs to be done by mid to end of June. So you'll want to look for, you know, so in this case, for the one that was like classes aren't offered until fall quarter, if there's another opportunity, or a sub, something else that will like work in place of that certification, or another place that offers it, maybe looking for those, because that deadline for spend and to complete activities is going to be in June. So that is a good question. And if that's something that you need support with, right, and I'm saying that it's like day center for children, so sometimes there are specific places that you can get that. But if you say, hey, this is what the training that we need, but I'm not finding anything that can be done prior to June, definitely reach out, because we have our business navigators and business services team, and they can often provide support in helping people identify like what would be good trainings or alt trainings for their staff, or possible other partners who might be able to provide that. But yeah, you would want to make sure that training and education is something that could be, done, completed, and paid for by June. So great question. Another one, a lot of grants only accept applicants if the business is at least 51% owned by a minority. I am minority, but 50-50 partner. Would we qualify? So yes, so this opportunity is open. We are prioritizing those that are 51, majority owned by priority populations. But you can absolutely apply. You would qualify, so you can absolutely apply. And I know sometimes those like co-ownership structures can get like a little bit tricky too, but yeah, you absolutely can apply. Again, prioritizing priority populations, but even if you are a minority-owned business that's not in the priority populations, you can still apply. There just is again, prioritization for those groups. And then this one, well, we can talk about this one too. If folks applied for our last opportunity, you're welcome. If folks applied for our last opportunity, we tried to take a lot of the learnings from last time. So we really simplified the application to getting down to like really, what was needed. So a lot less narratives, a lot less kind of like more of that like typical grant RFP type of, more lengthy narratives that are included in there. Tried to make it very straightforward, very clean. And then last time which was exciting but also hard, is we only had about 40 grants to award and had over 450 applications. So this time, the intention of getting the materials out ahead of time and having a date and time that the application opens, we're accepting those first 40 applications that come through. Those are the ones that will be evaluated. And then anyone who submits or tries to submit after those first 40 applications, they will get directed to a waitlist application, which is the exact same application. But that is then a way for us to pull in the order that they received additional applications if, let's say, in that first 40, we don't reach that full amount that we had budgeted because not everyone requests the full amount, or some folks actually aren't eligible, or maybe there were like some issues with their application, things like that. So I don't think any of this feels good. Like, we'd love to just be able to provide these really important supports to everyone, but that was the intention of really trying to be like much more like clear and transparent in the upfront of about how many of these grants we think we can award, and structuring the opportunity like that so that folks can get the support they need, have the information ahead of time, submit, hopefully make it into that first 40 that are submitted, and then if not, have the opportunity to be on that waitlist application, and then be processed in the order that they were received if there are issues with that first 40, or if there's the ability to award more than 40. And similar to our last grant, those that apply and aren't awarded will still be looking to support folks with other supports. So whether that's through some of our existing workforce development programs through WorkSource, or some of the other partners and resources that we've become aware of during this time, even if whether you are or not awarded, we're still going to look to resource folks and try and help you get connected with either other programs, services, or resources that can help you meet those needs as well. Will applicants know where they fall on the wait list? I don't think that there's anything set up on the back end that will let you know what number on the wait list you are. However, if you do end up, getting that message that, the 40 have been received, this is the waitlist application. If you follow up with me individually and just send me an email and say, hey, I'm just curious like where I'm at on the waitlist application, I can let you know that. There's just nothing in the system, and I'll check on this, but there's nothing in the back end workflow of the system that will like populate like what number you are on the list. Great questions. And I saw your hand too. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I was curious how soon this recording will go up on the RFP page, so that I can have an opportunity to review it.
Yeah. My guess, that most folks are out today. I know that our team has some trainings tomorrow during the first half of the day. So it'll either be before close of business tomorrow, or likely first thing, like first half of the day on Wednesday. But it should be up pretty quick within the next couple of days. Is the waitlist accounted now? Waitlist is when it opens. So right now you can go in, you can fill out your application. But the waitlist, that count only starts counting once application opens and for submitted applications. So folks are welcome to fill it out, save it right now, but that count to 40 won't start until applications actually start getting submitted. And that was just to ensure that folks had time to work on it, fill it out, get the technical language or other supports that they needed. And then that way, when it opened, all they had to do was, go into that email it sends you to resume and complete your application and then submit it. But that waitlist, ticker, those slots won't start counting until applications, until the submittals open, and then applications are actually submitted. Perfect. And then, if there are additional questions, definitely feel free to keep putting them in the chat, and we'll, hopefully we'll answer them as we go through. And then if not, then we will get an opportunity to chat through them or get them updated on the FAQ as well. And updated to the FAQ. Application scoring, this is again available on the RFP page, and this is for transparency. So you can see, how things are being scored. So the first one is an eligibility and compliance checklist. So we'll go through as long as all of the eligibility and compliance is there, then they will go on to get scored. If they're not eligible for one of those reasons, then they won't get scored. No, it's a simple submit. So that what you have access to in the application right now, that's the full application. The only thing that will pop up that will look different is at the very bottom. Right now, there's just a save that you can see on the right side. On the left-hand side at the bottom, there will be a submit option. So, and that will be it. Everything else is there and available for you to fill out right now. Can these funds be used to cover software purchases for employee trainings? Great question. I think as long as they're tied under kind of those intentions around like providing an upskilling, and then especially if there's some sort of like certification that goes along with it. But it's really for the actual training. So let's, as a hypothetical, let's say you're going to use a training provider to I don't know, train your staff in QuickBooks, and a part of that training package that you're purchasing is the actual QuickBooks software as well. I could see that being totally eligible. It's just something where you'd want to make sure that that training component, like if there is a software purchase that goes along with it, they're tied um, together, basically. And Logan, if you want to follow up with me specifically too, that's another one that I'll flag with our policy team. But I think as long as that's clearly there and outlined, the training, perfect. Yeah, the training, and that they'll be, certified or have their training completed by then. My guess is that's fine, but that's another great one for me to follow up with our policy team. These are phenomenal questions. Logistical information, we'll look at this specifically on the RFP page, but all updates, documents, information, kind of like your information hub for everything will be on the funding page or the RFP page website. If there are additional questions you have that you want answered and added to the FAQ, you can just email those to me. So Logan, that would be perfect, especially if you had additional context. And then that will help us answer the question too, and then be able to put that out on the FAQ so that everyone has access to that information. And then the timeline, the documents, they're all linked there, but we'll look at the actual page so you can kind of see it in real time instead of just on a PowerPoint slide. For the evaluation process, once that, application limit has been reached, we'll start reviewing the applications for compliance. So meaning that they met the eligibility requirements and were completed. As long as they pass that compliance review, then they'll get moved into evaluation using the scorecard. And then from those, there'll be the selection of the recommended awards or awardees. That those get put forward to our board, our full board, for them to approve. Once they take that board action and do approval, we'll then start doing the award notifications. And then there is an appeals process. So if you get a notification that you were not awarded, you have within 7 calendar days, you can issue an appeal. And we also do debriefs. So if you're not awarded and you just want more, this one compared to our last RFP opportunity is much more, simple, straightforward. There's not a lot of like the scoring in the sense of like the narrative piece, and it will be a much, smaller group. But if you still want that opportunity to debrief, whether it's to just kind of chat about your application, get more resources, anything like that, that will be available to you as well. And that will come out in the non-awarded notifications, or there'll be like a link to schedule with me to do a debrief. And then of course, if you want to do an appeal, you'll have 7 calendar days to do that from the notice of award decision. And then for the additional supports and resources similar that I spoke to earlier, whether you're awarded, non-awarded, it's really our intention to continue to connect you with, not just our own like workforce services and larger workforce systems and supports, but as well as any other business resources or community resources that we have kind of, come upon that may be helpful to you and really, provide those connections and supports. Yeah, so if an agency makes top 40 and they're not awarded, will they have an opportunity to resubmit or appeal? So yes, and this is in the FAQ, because we kind of talk through with the more simplified scoring process, like what would those scenarios be where you would make it into the top 40 and not get awarded. And really that's like if you're not eligible for some reason, like if you're a Pierce County business who applied, like that would be the main one. Or if maybe there's like an error in your application where like instead of something being filled out, I don't know, because everything is set to where like you shouldn't be able to submit it until everything is filled out. But let's just say you made a typo or a mistake and you put a period in a section that should have had a full answer. Those are the kind of things where we'd follow up and say like, hey, there's something that looked off here. Can you provide this within, 24 hours? Give us like the answer that actually should have been here. I think there are probably very few scenarios in which like someone would have to submit an application that was eligible, but their responses just didn't. And again, the questions are really straightforward. And we'll take a look at them, but they just didn't answer the questions or put in like information that did not make sense at all. But that would be, I'm not really anticipating a lot of those, and I think it would be rare. So in most cases, as long as you were eligible and had an application that met compliance, it would likely be a follow-up of like, hey, can you provide this information in short order? Because it was likely, like a typo or a mistake like that. So I will stop sharing for a second just to take us to, okay. And I will actually go back so that you can see it from the full site. So if you go to our main website here, which is seekingwdc.org, go to investments, and then funding opportunities, which is the second one down here. This is where all of our funding opportunities like RFPs, RFQs will be here. There is a new one that has been posted. It's an RFQ for a project manager and communicator for a job quality initiative. If you work in the realm of, kind of like consulting, especially around like with businesses and community engagement, this might be one that you want to take a look at as well or share with folks in your network. But the Workforce Accelerator one is the second one here. So you can just click on this. And then this is kind of like our main hub. So all the information that we've discussed today, you can click begin application here and that will take you there. Speaks to the objective, eligibility requirements. This is a broad overview of the reporting requirements. If you're awarded, right, like you will get, you'll do a contract with us to receive the grant funds and everything will be very clearly outlined in terms of, what's expected for reporting and the type of information that we'll need. Timeline is here. And then all helpful documents. So again, another link to the application, scoring guide, frequently asked questions, an informational flyer if you want to share the opportunity, and then just some of our disclaimers and general provisions that are on all of the RFPs and RFQs that we put out. And so links to the frequently asked questions here, they're also provided here in this drop down. And you'll see when they were last updated. So like the questions that we received today, I'll be looking to have those updated and uploaded by Wednesday. So you should see the newer version then. We've tried to make it more lengthy and we've gotten some great questions even just from last time. So hopefully this will answer the questions that you have. And then if not, my email is available if you just want to clarify an answer or if you have something that kind of fell out of the realm of what was asked here. I'm happy to answer those for you and then get them added as well. The recording from our last application assistance webinar is here, which you can see. And then this is where the one from today will get posted as well, right below this one. For the application, again, kind of an overview of what we've talked about, a reiteration of the overview and the requirements. This shouldn't apply to anyone here, but if you are a buy-in for organization that we've already contracted with the WDC for other work related to the community reinvestment plan and those funds, you're not eligible for this opportunity. But those folks know who they are. So unless you're contracted with us for other buy-in for work, then you are eligible to apply. If you were awarded the last grant, the small business investment grant, then this opportunity will not be open to you at this time, just to try and serve additional folks. And this isn't if you applied to the last one, only if you were awarded for that last small business investment grant. And then the application. So basic employer contact information, your business information, your active business license, which you will upload here. Business owner demographics. Only this top one needs to be filled out, but just acknowledging that some businesses, business owners identify with multiple communities, or they might have a multi-ownership or multi-owner structure. That way you can fill these in. So it's select or fill in. So you either select the priority population, or you can fill in the community that you belong to or identify with, and then the percentage of that ownership. And this is just self-attestation. And then if you feel like there's anything additional that you want to provide to either kind of explain that or add to that, you are welcome to in this field here. It's not required. This has tripped some people up. So the project information, the 3 projects that you can select one from are recapped right here. And then you want to select the project type that you're applying for. Once you do that, the questions that are associated with that project will then populate. So you'll see that they change. So slightly different. Paid internship and new hire wages have the most similar kind of structure. And this is this minor work permit available. And then this is a link here where it says to hire anyone under the age of 18, there's specific laws and rules. So that links to an actual resource for that through L&I for more information. As well as kind of this note about the disbursement of when grant funds are awarded and must be completed and spent by mid-June. So if that helps with like, timing out the structure of your internship or your new hire or the type of certification that you'll want, your employees to attend and complete, that kind of note, it's in the FAQ, but I tried to reiterate some kind of like helpful dates and deadlines in the application as well. For nonprofits, great question. You can answer that based off of your leadership. And then, so you'll answer, so based on the one that you select, you'll answer these questions here. And then there's kind of like a like helpful text in terms of like, position overview, what's really being asked, briefly summarize the position and its responsibilities. So essentially kind of like what you would put forward if you were doing either like a job posting or an internship posting. Internships, because we want them to be, supervised, supported work experiences, also identifying like the task or duty that someone would learn or accomplish during that internship. And these don't have to be just one-liners. They don't have to be extremely detailed, but like if it's, we'll say maybe it's like a front office position that you're doing as an internship, maybe it's part of what will get learned is like some, scheduling software or certain types of communication or things that are just going to be relevant that you expect someone would be, skills that you expect someone would learn during the course of that internship with you. And then these are just ones that you check. So if awarded, do you agree to, following federal and state employment laws, submitting timesheets and payroll documentations, providing a meaningful work experience with supervision. This is for the internship. Providing a success story or impact narrative. That'll be part of the grant reporting. Not displacing any current employed employees or preventing the employment of persons who would otherwise be hired by implementing this. And then ensuring that they complete a WorkSource WA account. And there will be supports for that as well. But that's just to do some tracking on our end in terms of grant and like funding impact essentially. And then you acknowledge and certify. So the total amount that you're going to be requesting, stating that you certify, and then you will sign and date. Right now you have the ability to save it. And if you do, it will pop up this. So you can copy a link to it, and then you'll want to email yourself the link. And then you'll get an email with a link to your application where you can either make adjustments to it later, or when the application's officially open, you can click on that and then you will see a submit button that populates down here that's currently blank. For the scorecard, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, and again, happy to answer if you have more specific questions or things that you just want to like noodle through too, feel free to send me an email. And oftentimes it ends up being really helpful because there's even with this opportunity where it's more clearly bucketed and there's always intricacies, right? Or things that might be really helpful for your business that you want to make sure that they fit, or is there a way to make them fit? So definitely please feel comfortable reaching out with those questions. If I don't have the answer, I can always go back to my other wonderful teammates on my team and like the policy team to get the answers that we need. Scorecard, again, available just so you can see it. So this is the eligibility and compliance checklist. If everything was marked yes, then you'll move on to scoring. So there is scoring for the business ownership and representation for that prioritization there. The project proposal, and these essentially kind of end up being like yes or no questions. So as long as you answer what was put forward, you will score well on these. So, did you outline the project in the application? Yes, you answered the question. This one, I will likely provide, you might see an adjustment to this where I provide a little bit more information here because some folks had questions around like, well, what does it really mean to be feasible? And by that, we're really looking at, mostly timeline and cost. So is it something that you could get if it's like a training, you could get it set up in place with your spending and your outcomes done by mid-June. If that seems feasible, then great. But I'll likely provide some additional information here just so it's more clear for folks. Workforce impact. I mean, yes, if as long as you select the project, which you have to for the application, and fill it out, then this will be a yes. And the project quality, so it demonstrates a plan to support a workforce opportunity, or it doesn't. And again, as long as you fill out the questions, and there's no lengthy narratives. I mean, the longest parts are really just around giving like an explanation of the training, or essentially kind of like a job description for the internship or new hire. As long as you fill these things out, the scoring's pretty clear. So to circle back to that question that was answered earlier, like if you make it into the top 40 and you're compliant, those cases where you wouldn't be awarded, as long as you're filling this out, there shouldn't really be any issues. The only thing I can really see is if, you went to fill something out and you accidentally put a period here or something and didn't actually input what you meant to. That's a place where we would likely follow up and say like, hey, it looks like something wasn't entered the way you wanted it to be entered. Respond in it because of the nature of the quicker turnaround time here. We'll probably say, hey, respond in this amount of time. And as long as we get that response and it makes sense, then it should be fine. And then if not, then there's a chance that someone else from the wait list would be pulled up. But our intention here was really to make this as simple as possible to get businesses the support they need, as long as they have a project need that aligns with what is offered here and they're eligible. So really tried to take a lot of any unnecessary complication out of this. I am available for support. We have our business services teams and business navigators. I'm also aware of some like community organizations, and they're in the FAQ as well. But I know Commerce has the Business Resiliency Network. There's some great coaches and counselors through the Small Business Development Council. And the other organizations as well. So if you kind of hit a stick point and you're not sure where to get to support, I'm happy to try and find additional resources for you as well. That's pretty much all I've got. I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, no, it's just questions at this point. So we've got a couple more minutes. Any other questions that folks have? Oh, great. So the calendar link my calendar link will go out after the non-awarded ones go out. And that's just so folks have an opportunity to chat and do a debrief. In the interim, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And if it's something where we can't like easily get it sorted through an email exchange, then we can set up a time for like a quick phone call so that we can go through those. And these are perfect. I really appreciate everyone putting their questions in the chat too, so we can kind of easily transfer them over as well. Oh, so for nonprofit ownership, you can do that by leadership. Then I didn't phrase it this way in this one because it created some confusion with our last grant. But typically that prioritization is around ownership or leadership. So in the case of like nonprofit, I would view that as the leadership of the nonprofit. So, like looking at like your executive director. I know nonprofits can get structured differently, but if you're I'd base it off your the leadership of the organization. Yeah, of course. Great questions. Great questions. I love this. Try and be very thoughtful when we think through things, and inevitably, right? There's just always something that's not accounted for or a unique spin. And I really appreciate everyone's engagement and thoughtfulness and in what's being asked, because it's of course helpful to you, helps us get better, and then it's great information for other applicants to have as it gets updated on the FAQ page and they're doing their applications. And if folks don't have other questions, you're welcome to hop off. We'll get both the FAQ and updated, as well as getting this recording updated to the site. Should be up by Wednesday. And then, yeah, if there are other questions, feel free to email me, and I will do my absolute best to have the answer or get the answer as quickly as possible for you.